So here's a little video about stalking. Well, actually, what to do about stalking. Well, my thoughts on being stalked and how I handled it, and the kind of advice I would give other people who are being stalked. Obviously, everyone's situation is very, very different, and there's nothing I can do to give, like, this is the very thing that will fix it. But I thought sharing some of the details of my own personal experience might be useful to people, and a couple of people have asked me about it, so I thought, okay, let's share it. Now, for those who don't know, I was stalked probably for just over 2 years. I wasn't the sole target of the stalker. The stalker then targeted a number of people associated with me, focusing on two particular individuals who were then on the receiving end of the same level of venom that I was. Now, the difference for us in this situation, the stalker was known to all of us, and she wasn't in the locality. So unless she travelled, we weren't going to have any physical contact necessarily, because she was a sufficient distance away. Most of the stalking was done via the normal modalities of text message, emails, lots and lots of emails, Facebook Messenger, various other online points of communication. But then it also took the malevolent form of websites springing up absolutely everywhere, using the free website services like Wix, for example, to character assassinate and recruit people into the drama that was unfolding. This is some of the things that I learned along the way in dealing with this. My observations from dealing with other people as well is you can pretty much put the stalker into two categories. There are those that you have a pre-existing relationship with, and there are those who are largely unknown to you. In this situation, the person was known to myself and the other targets of the stalking, but not through any sort of romantic notion or anything else. It was more through the work that we do. And we then, for quite a long time, was aware of this individual, mostly as a trainee or as a client in varying forms. At the time that we all knew this individual, of course, we didn't know each other were also involved in that individual. That was only stuff that we discovered later when we realized that we're all, hang on, what's going on here? One of the things that happens in that scenario, so it's somebody who is known to you. It may well be a romantic partner, someone you've lived with, somebody who, you know, you've had a long-term positive relationship with for a period of time. There's a point that will happen when you realize, hang on, this is not normal. There is something wrong here. And that's the point that you're in trouble. And you have to try and make sense of what's happening. That's the moment you disengage your contact. Because what will start to happen is everything you have ever said, everything you have ever posted publicly, referred to, everything will be used against you. Because now the stalker is redefining the relationship they have and the relationship they had. And now everything that ever happened and was spoken is now framed to be something else. And if you now start to defend yourself and explain, you're just adding more fuel to it. So this is quite a terrifying phase for people when they're on the receiving end of stalking, because it's like, hang on, everything, I'm to blame for this? And a lot of the things you have said are recontextualized. And my observation of this particular individual, but also when I've consulted with other people who've been stalked, their memory for detail is extraordinary. They always excuse their own behaviors in every possible way. But your misdemeanors, which probably weren't even misdemeanors, they're now created to be so. It's extraordinary the level of accuracy that they are able to recall things that you may have said, or things that you have said. So now, one of the problems is there's elements of truth to an awful lot of what is being spoken by the other party. And of course, they will act to make you the bad person, and you are the person who is the pure evil. And they, in turn, will be recruiting allies and working very hard behind the scenes to find their personal flying monkeys. With that in mind, now we can divide that type of stalker into two categories. You've got the narcissistic stalker. That's the one you used to be married to. That's the one you were dating. And then you didn't realize until it was too late. They've got you, they revealed themselves, and now it's like, now I'm in trouble. And then you've got the slightly, well, the one who's got a screw loose. Our particular individual had a diagnostic thing. Not narcissistic, but it takes on a very similar form. Now, if you are somebody who's on the receiving end of a narcissistic stalker, this is an ex, this is somebody who you were intimate with at some point, then you need expert advice on how to deal with that. And I'm just going to pull up now 3 people I know that are particularly brilliant in terms of the advice they give. So starting off with Sam Vaknin, have a look at Sam's YouTube channel. This guy's an absolute expert on narcissism and all the stuff that goes on with that behavior. Really pay attention to what he says. He is self-defining as a narcissist himself, or a former narcissist. So he sees it from the inside. He had a wake-up call, turned his own life around, started to investigate what the hell is this. So Sam Vaknin's work is superb. Next up we have Les Carter. Les is a lot nicer. He sees, from the work that I've seen of his, he sees stalkers from quite a, sorry, not stalkers, narcissists from quite a compassionate point of view. So he has a very interesting point of view, lots of very solid advice as well, coming at it from a different angle to Sam Vaknin. And then last up we have Dr. Ramani. She's very much on the side of the victims, doesn't seem to like the narcissist very much, hasn't got such a friendly tone that Les has. Also absolutely excellent with superb advice, especially if you're female with a male narcissist, then this is your person, Dr. Ramani. So have a look at their YouTube channels, work through every video they have put up. You will benefit enormously. So quite often there's a narcissistic element to the stalking behavior. And one of the problems with that is that a narcissist has friends, is often well respected, has often worked very hard at the status and the social status game, and so is able to recruit people to do their bidding. So no matter how many fronts you block them on all social media and emails and IP addresses, it doesn't matter, because they've got their spies who believe what they say. Their flying monkeys, their little spies, believe what the stalker is saying about you. Therein lies the problem. My advice number 1, never, ever, under any circumstances, defend yourself publicly against the allegations and the rumour mongering or anything else. Never deny anything. Just don't engage with it. It's really easy advice to give. Really difficult to do when you're caught up in that and you just see this unravelling. And why are these people, why are they all involved? Keep quiet. Do not engage. Just quietly right-click and block. Do not threaten to block. Do not make vague postings. Do not try and recruit allies. Do not offer explanations. Do not offer counter-examples. Keep your fingers away from the keyboard unless you're right-clicking and blocking. Don't say a word. Very, very difficult to do, especially when it seems to be gathering and there's more of it and more. Because here's one of the things that can happen to you. Actually, no, it's not one of the things that could happen to you. This is one of the things that will happen. Other people. When I was being stalked and I initially told people in real life, known to me, not talking social media friends who I've never met, in real life when I was informing people, I wasn't prepared for the way those people would behave. And this came as quite a shock, because I'm in a vulnerable position with lots of allegations being made, lots of web pages going up and all this thing happening online. And when I told the people I thought I could trust, I discovered that not everybody has a particular positive response. One of the most common responses I've experienced was, well, what did you do to her? What have you done to provoke her? What have you done now? Oh, it's typical for you, isn't it? Oh, this is exactly... So, whoa. Now, I understand that I provoke and I have all this kind of stuff that I put out as part of my brand, as part of my personality. But the immediate victim blame was extraordinary, but they're doing it from a point of mockery and, oh, isn't this funny? Oh, aren't you lucky chap? I had from, well, actually 3 people told me how lucky I was because not everyone got this attention. I had people raise an eyebrow with, aye, so what have you done then? Been a naughty boy? Well, fuck you. That's the only response I can give. Because the amount of people who like to cast aspersion. So, my number 1 thing, don't expect people to give you the response that you would expect. Prepare to be disappointed, because they will disappoint you. So that was the immediate thing from the people I was hoping would be a little bit more supportive than most of them actually turned out to be. Now, you also have to look at it from their point of view. You see, most people don't think of things as being protracted incidents over time. So if I'm in a car crash, okay, everyone gets what that is. It's done, it's happened, now it's over, now we've got recovery. If I'm robbed or mugged or my house is burgled, okay, everyone gets that. But if I'm getting 10 emails today, 2 phone calls tonight, a text message, next week a web page goes up just briefly, then it gets taken down again, then I get some more emails, text messages. Each individual thing is inconsequential, but cumulatively over time, okay, that takes a cost. That's what stalking consists of. And then you see them spying, or you get a photograph of yourself texted to you, and you think, how did they even, that kind of stuff. So when you start to get those kind of behaviors, each individual thing is so small, no one really understands that as a particular issue. And if you're now the person who's now constantly telling those friends and family and the people close to you each individual thing that happens, you're going to sound like you're someone who's imagining things, exaggerating, making stuff up. And they will interpret that accordingly, because they're not on the receiving end of it. They don't know the context. They don't understand. And so they switch off. And one of the consistent things that I found during the 2 years that I was stalked was the complete absence of questions and inquiry and supportive comments from those people I thought I would rely on. No one ever asked me. Literally, no one ever really raised a question. Unless it was like the dinner party scenario, the gathering of people, where someone wants to have a funny story. Go on, Andy, tell us about the stalking. Go on, tell. That's the kind of stuff you have to put up with. So, the stalking was one issue. Dealing with other people was a different issue. So they were just the friends and family type situation. The people like, Then we have the others online. The others online who love a drama. Why do people do Facebook? Social drama. Same reason they watch soap operas. So now let me just go through. I made a little list here earlier of the kind of, could I categorize these people? People wonder why I got such a bad attitude. Well, there's good reasons. Okay, number 1 on my list here, do-gooders. The do-gooders are the people who want to involve themselves and want to be helpful. But unfortunately, the way they're likely to be helpful is actually going to make the situation worse. Remember, the best way to deal with stalking situation is to have no contact, make no public reference, try and keep out of it in the public domain as much as is humanly possible. But then the do-gooders come along, because they may well have seen a little bit, they may be aware, especially if the stalker is making public postings and the rest of it. The do-gooders have this notion about what you should do. And they're very good at advice, they're very good at giving advice. And then they offer to do things for you. Ignore them. Don't talk to them. Do not talk to them. I'm going to say this again. Do not talk to those do-gooders. Here was one of the things that we discovered, myself and my 2 colleagues. We're all therapists. We're trainers in our own right. We have products. We have YouTube channels. We all 3 of us have a public presence. So people are known. And of course, we are known. The stalker was making endless public references to us in different ways, on different platforms, relentlessly. So it draws people in. So people we don't know decide they're going to help us. And of course, they ask us questions and all the rest of it. One particular individual who I made the mistake of giving bare minimum data to was only then having conversations with said stalker and actually trying to act as a go-between, but wasn't impressed. Block the do-gooders. Do not trust them, because a lot of them are being recruited as flying monkeys, especially for the narcissistic types. Oh, I didn't mention the second type of stalker, and that's the one you don't know, and usually has the amorous intention, so that's the secret admirer in the distance. I don't have experience of that, so that was the thing I meant to say earlier. Now, another category, and these are also very dangerous individuals. This is the mob. This is the crowd. These are the burn the witch brigade. These are the doubters and the rumor mongers. Now, when said stalker overnight was making voluminous, kept making new accounts, and it didn't matter how quickly I blocked accounts on social media, she just kept generating new ones. And overnight, because I obviously wouldn't be there to remove them, would be making these posts. And then I had somebody I've never heard of before, have no connection to, have no idea who this person is, just sent me a single line email. There's no smoke without fire. And then I looked on that person's Facebook page who had made the same post and had shared some of the comments said stalker had made, saying there's no smoke without fire. Don't know who this person is, never discussed anything with me, never met them, don't know anything about them. And therein lies the problem, because how easy is it for your photo to end up being shared with a caption underneath, with everyone, with an accusation beneath it, with who is this person? They must be found. You know what to do. You know, the kind of stuff that you have probably shared yourself. It's usually some dodgy looking geezer with a dog. It's got some blood on it, and it's share this, find this scumbag. Well, why are people sharing? They don't know what he's doing. It's just a photo of a guy, and yet people share these things, and they get shared widely. False accusations get repeated where someone's accused of being a sex offender or harms children or some kind of negative thing, and people share the hell out of it because they want social justice. The doubters and the rumourmongers are those people who repeat. So when you share that photograph and you haven't even bothered to check who is in that image, you haven't done a Google image search, you haven't bothered to check the source, you blindly repeated it because you thought you were helping, you are a flying monkey to someone who's trying to destroy an innocent, potentially an innocent person. You must bear that in mind. And that's why I have such a bad attitude. Those who've been on the receiving end of some of my slightly acidic comments, when I see you sharing those things, this is why. And that's something to bear in mind, because you will potentially have people do that to you if you're a stalker victim. Next on my list, the voyeurs. Now, these are, oh, filth, absolute filth. The voyeurs who, oh, tell me more. They want to know more. They're getting off on the drama. They're getting off on it, and they want to know who the stalker is. Tell me, and they want to now have a look at do a bit of cyber stalking themselves and find out all the people involved. And oh, how did this begin? What happened? Oh, oh, do you want to come around? We should go for a beer sometime. You can tell me all about it. Well, fuck off. Lots of those. Lots and lots of those ones. Now, then we have the dickheads and the experts. The dickheads and the experts are really a subcategory of the do-gooders, and really got to be careful of these. These are the people who actually try to help. They're the one who, they know what, I can sort her out. I had lots of that. I had a lot of those, where the person says, well, give me her contact details, I'll know, I'll tell her, I'll put her straight. You won't put her straight. You will not tell her. You will only make it worse, because in your ridiculously naive imagination of absence of any real world experience of what's actually going on here, you will just make it worse, because you're giving the person the attention they are craving so badly. And yet I got those kind of guys contact me endlessly, and some of them I know in real life too, and not just social media contact. I wasn't very happy, I've got to tell you, especially when now I have more of a panic about those dickheads getting involved and stirring the pot and making it worse. Now, meanwhile, of course, I'm working with the police. I've got a CID person involved. I've got a lawyer involved. I'm liaising with a number of different agencies as well as the other stalker victims. We actually have stuff going on. We've got ongoing communication with the prosecutor who's trying to get this person locked up. And these dickheads think they're going to come and solve it. It doesn't work that way. And that's one of the things that really, really riled me. Got a lot of those. And then you have the favourite category. These are just wonderful. And I've got to tell you, some of these people are out there amongst you if you're one of my sort of community of the NLPers and the trainers and hypnotherapists. The Munch Bunch. These are the fakers. You think, because you know them on Facebook and you see their endless posts and their pontifications and their voluminous writings on all things philosophical, psychological and everything else, you assume they are who they pretend to be. Some of them aren't, and I can tell you because I know, and I'm still see them on Facebook, and I see some of you people engaging with them. And think, oh, if only you knew. I can't tell you who they are. I'd love to. Believe me, I'd love to. The Munch Bunch are the ones who are. They're not the psychologist, the trainer. They're not. They just claim it's a very easy thing to fake, like the guys who fake being military. They're faking being the role that they actually are, the psychologist, the PhD, the doctor. No, they're just all fake. I can tell you, well, not all, but some of these guys are, all of their stuff about them is entirely fake. They then hijack the story. They insert themselves in the story. Now, the three of us who were on the receiving end of this, we had two particular individuals who are, one of them is NLP trainer, the other one's a psychologist, both female, and they got in contact because they wanted to help this poor, unfortunate person because they understood her individual needs. And they provoked and antagonized, and they, ridiculous, because they're not therapists, they're not coaches, they're not the people they pretend to be. And of course, this particular stalker, they had massively underestimated her venom and her incessant nature. I mean, she was quite remarkable. She then turns on those two, and that's possibly what they wanted, because now they position themselves at the center of the drama. Now, myself and my two colleagues are trying to keep this drama to its absolute minimum. We are trying to have the endless websites taken down, have the endless social media fake profiles taken down, have the posts removed. This was a full-time job. To give you a context, and when the police asked, can you actually show us that this is true? I was sent 8,000 emails in a single day. 8,000. The cop said, is that even possible? And I said, well, I can forward it over to you, but you're going to have to load the printer up because it's going to require quite a lot of paper. I think I got a message back. Oh, it is 8,000. No, it is 8,000. That's why I said it was 8,000 emails. Very, very busy individual using the email flutter to do that kind of thing. And also an expensive email service to actually be able to deliver that many emails. Quite extraordinary. Whilst we're trying to minimize the drama and have this stuff taken down, these two idiots, our fake trainer and our fake psychologist, are now maximizing attention on the internet, massively playing out their stuff on Facebook, involving the police in their little dramas and all this other stuff. And we told them right from the outset, back off, do not get involved, you are not going to help us here, please go. Oh, no, they didn't go away. No, and now what they start to do is get attention, because all those other people, the do-gooders, the doubters, the voyeurs, the dickheads and the experts, flock to the drama. And as were managing to keep a lid on this ridiculous situation, these two idiots escalate it beyond all measure. It was insane. What happens next was absolutely insane. And then some of these, I shan't name the organization, one of these organizations got involved. One of these standards organizations got involved and sent out an email suggesting something that was spectacularly untrue, which I took them to task for, and they just basically didn't bother replying. Well, we thought that's what it was. Well, you should have checked. This is the stuff you're up against if you've got a stalker. The bigger problem is not just the stalker, unless they're a violent one who's going to, burn your house down. That's a different issue. The bigger problem is the mob mentality, because if you end up on a meme and that meme gets shared around, that's never going away. And that, because what goes online stays online. And that's a problem. And I say, some of you people watching this video may well have participated in that quite unwittingly. Change your behavior is what I'm going to tell you to do. So, other advice. No matter what, no matter how much provocation there is, no matter how much temptation there is, do not make public reference at all. Just continue situation as normal, or remove yourself from all social media. People don't like to do that because it feels like they're giving in. What I was doing was constantly putting out a positive message. Showing actually situation normal, not buying into the drama. Not buying into the drama at all. Don't do attention-seeking behaviors. No matter how bad you feel, don't do vague posting. Having a really tough day today, I could just do with someone to talk. No, don't do that. Someone's going to get what they deserve. No, don't do that. Don't do anything that gives the stalker acknowledgement. You want to go 100% no feedback to them whatsoever. You don't tell them to leave you alone. You don't reply to any of the emails. You don't send things back to them. You do nothing. Do not try and recruit allies. Don't try and recruit allies. I say it again, do not try and recruit allies. One of the problems about recruiting allies is people are useless. And it's amazing because one of those apparent allies might turn out to be a dickhead. They might turn out to be one of the experts. They might turn out to be one of the munch bunch. So you've got to be very, very careful with who you trust. You've got to really understand you're in this and you're likely to be in this alone as far as your social media presence goes. Don't ever engage people. Obviously, you're going to involve yourself with the police. I recommend you go and find yourself a solicitor or a lawyer, depending on which country you're in. And I'm also going to recommend you study those 3 people I mentioned earlier of the works around narcissism. They have a lot of really good advice. And contact some of the genuine support agencies that are out there to deal with stalking. Don't rely on social media support. Those people on your Facebook list, just because they're familiar to you over a number of years, you've seen their posts, their holiday snaps, you've seen them in a bikini or a pair of swimming trunks. You have this kind of very strong familiar. You've never met them. You don't know who they are. You just think you know who they are. So you want to go without any form of public acknowledgement of the stalker or their presence or what they're doing or their impact upon you. You need to maintain normality. So that's what you do in the public face. Now, in the background, there's something very, very important you need to do. And that is to keep absolute meticulous records. Meticulous. Just if something happens today and you don't record it straight away because you think you'll remember it tomorrow. No, tomorrow there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff. So I kept screenshots of absolutely everything. I kept every email, including the 8,000. Screenshots of everything. I kept the things that were sent to me as well. I received a lot of things through the post. I keep everything, text messages. I didn't realize this in the early days. Text messages can auto-delete from various phones, whatever, after a time. So photograph the text message. Those kind of things are really, really important. Keep absolutely everything. And then copy your records. So you have 2 separate copies, because if your computer fails or something hideous happens, you lose all your data. Oh. Because at some point, eventually, our ridiculously ineffective and appallingly underfunded and useless legal system. I'm not talking about the people working the legal system, because I had nothing but positive interactions with the prosecutor and the large number of different police officers and law enforcement agencies and victim support. They all did magnificently. But the system, oh dear. Anyone who's been on the receiving end of that sort of thing, you understand what I'm talking about here. It's incredibly slow and it's incredibly inadequate. So backwards and forwards to court and nothing much happening or getting done. It's like, why is an adjournment? Oh, okay, now, because their lawyer knows exactly how to play the system, and so does the stalker better than you will. Your records must be meticulous, because if you present yourself as a bad witness, if you're not very good, they walk free. Now, if you're going to now start and they carry on stalking you, everything that happened up until the moment they walk free, no longer admissible. And herein lies the difficulty of legal threshold. If this is going on for 6 weeks, that's harassment. It's got to go on a lot longer before it becomes stalking. And if you keep going into court and not getting anywhere, you never reach a threshold where the stalking law is now triggered and they can be jailed. It doesn't happen. It's just harassment. And I didn't realize that right at the beginning. So we actually had to engage in a bizarre position of not going to court and not having an intervention. Because every time the person gets arrested and gets taken in front of the magistrates, resets. And then we start all over again. And that went on for 2 years. So you must keep meticulous records. And the other one is, if you are not purer than pure, if you are a victim who does not behave like the perfect victim, you send stuff back, you write volumes of postings, you recruit people, you say, that fucking bitch, you do those things, Now you're provoking. And to any independent party, they're not seeing stalking. They're seeing two people who hate each other. So, unfortunately, even though you're the victim, you must be a perfect victim because you need to be a perfect witness. Let them keep digging their own hole. And don't try and discourage their flying monkeys and their do-gooders who are working on their behalf. Don't try and convince them or win them round to your side. Don't try and win anyone over to your side. Give that up. Okay, it doesn't work, and it will not look good, because you can guarantee those words, those things you say, are going to be read out in the courtroom. So you must be absolutely, and that's why you need to take legal advice, because you have a lawyer advise you exactly how you conduct yourself, because everything will be used against you later. You think the stalker is using your words against you now, just wait until you stand in a courtroom and you're the one bringing the accusation, and yet somehow you feel you're the one on trial, because you are. Essentially, that is how it works. And if you can be discredited, which is exactly what they're going to try and do, then you lose. And guess what? They get to walk free, and it continues. And then you have to start all over again. But now they get to tell the public story about how you brought false allegations, etc., etc., etc. And they have the publications, especially if it makes the local paper, they have all that stuff to back it up. They get more flying monkeys working for them. That's why it's very, very important. You get very good advice very early on, and you keep that closed, keep your fingers away from the keyboard, and keep meticulous records. And remember, those people on social media who want to be helpful to you, they probably won't be. I'm going to probably do more on this, because I've had a few people send stuff over to me. If people have specific questions around things, I'm not going to give you any particular details of my own case, so to speak. But if anyone has any questions about this or that, leave them in the comment section, because I will do that in future videos. And if anyone has any particular good resources that you think, this will be useful for people, or you know a particular law firm who specialize in this kind of stuff, stick it in the comment section, because that could be very helpful to other people on YouTube who find this video whilst they're looking for support and help. So do please offer in the comment section anything you've got, and click that like button. It's always appreciated, helps me with my YouTube channel and its growth and all the rest.